Mr. Dell, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Huh? Oh, I didn't even realize that he got up. Where's, he went to the bathroom? So while we're waiting for Bruce, Crestron, PB number 18-01. And before we get started, just state your names and your affiliation with the project for the record.
Gary Rice, I'm attorney for the applicant. Anthony Moore, Vice President of Real Estate.
Maureen, M-O-R-I-N. Michael Tolkien, E-L-K-I-N, architect.
Stephen Brown, from Planning Engineering.
And John Steele, S-B-E-R.
You ready? I'm ready. Okay.
Some of you may remember Crestron.
Is there a green light on?
Where do I put the voters? Okay, we're going to try without it. Good evening. Some of you on the board may remember Crestron being here in 2010 going through the process for the original approval for its building. The property is located in LIO zoning district on approximately 19 acres. When they obtained all the approvals from the various boards in 2010, it was for a building consisting of 194,000 square feet, 4 offices, and what's called light manufacturing and some accessory storage, and parking for approximately 284 cars. When it was approved, Crestron wasn't 100% certain how the building would ultimately be utilized as the business grew, and whether or not it might be possible to release some of the property or some of the building out if it was not necessary for their purposes. However, the business has fortunately grown. There we go. Thank you. The business has grown. They've utilized the building, and as the business has grown, they've realized what their needs are within the building. So this application is to remove 12 of the loading berths that were approved at the time. They just are not utilized and are not needed. And to add approximately 55 parking spaces. It was originally 55, but the fire inspector recommended the removal of 3, so ultimately it'll be 52 parking spaces. Also, the land banking of an additional 52 parking spaces and the construction of canopies over the exterior doors. So with that, I'd like John to show you the plan and explain the details of it in some more detail.
Thank you, Terry. The idea behind the design of this here is to maintain within the existing footprint of our disturbance. First, we put in the 55 parking spaces in those southerly half of the loading bays. So we'll be taking all of those out except for one, the most southerly loading bay. That's going to remain. And that's going to be our first phase. The immediate need is those spaces there. That's pretty much within existing paved area, loading dock type of area. Then we went on and looked at all the available spaces we could pick up in the site that wouldn't extend our parking any further to the east or to the south. We knew that was sensitivities on the board's part. So staying within the existing footprint, the envelope that is set there by the original approval, we were able to add another 52 spaces that we'd like to consider land banked and try to get approval for those spaces, that the property owner can just go in and get a permit from the building department should the business need arise to construct those spaces. The design also looked at maintaining existing drainage patterns, so we don't need to relocate any kind of drainage structures. We might have to modify one from a curb inlet to a flat inlet, but other than that, the existing drainage structures will remain the same. We did have review letters come back from Brooker Engineering and from the town engineering department that we are addressing. We've addressed the Brooker comments and received a updated letter this afternoon, but we still have to address the letter from the engineering department. And that's about it. We're not looking at moving any vehicles. We still maintain emergency vehicle access around the entire building as per the original development. We don't expect.
Did you see Mr. Bettman's letter from the fire?
Mr. Bettman, I saw his letter this morning. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We think we can accommodate that pretty much the way
You're going to
Mr. Bettman describes. We're going to be looking at making that revision to the plans. We'll be taking out 3 spaces on that set of 5 spaces, the most northwest of the immediate 55 area. Take out those 3 spaces there. We'll give a ladder truck a clean access directly into that drive aisle. Can't really turn that, exactly, ma'am. Can't really turn them around, but Mr. Bettman indicated that he wasn't interested in turning around. He's interested in getting there. He has a lot more time to turn around than he needs. He needs quick access, and leaving the site is not quite as time sensitive.
Is that it?
Yes, sir, unless you have any questions.
There's 6 of us, so I'm sure someone's going to have questions. Okay, so I'm going to start to read the comments. The PRC has no additional comments beyond the comments submitted by other agencies. Brooker Engineering sent a revised letter this afternoon. Drainage calculations have provided to demonstrate the potential significant impacts with respect to drainage can be mitigated. We therefore recommend that Crestron Electronic site plan be approved for drainage subject to the above project comment, and there's one. From Jane Slavin, RA, Director of the OBZPAE. You need to go to Akabor. Bruce Peters has 5 comments. Rockland County Planning doesn't have any comments. Rockland County Highway says it's de minimis. Rockland County Health says nothing. Drainage says nothing. Sewer says nothing. Army Corps says nothing. Because we're rushing through this, I'll let you know what Michael Bettman says. In the new proposed parking area, I request a minimum of 26 feet to facilitate the use of a ladder truck and to allow the turning radius to accommodate a 50-foot ladder truck on each end of the new parking area. Add sprinkler heads in new areas and fire alarm devices as required. Portable fire extinguishers at a 75-foot travel distance to the new areas, and emergency lighting as per the National Electric Code. There's also correspondence from the ZBA not objecting to this board serving as lead agency. Cheryl, that's all I have. Mr. Young.
Just want to comment, I don't think anybody on this board is going to deny removing of loading bays. Drainage has been answered. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Mr. Dell?
I concur with what Mr. Young has said. My main thing, I just want to reiterate for the record that all the disturbance will happen on the westerly side of this. Is that true? Okay, so the residential areas to the east that we had quite a bit of discussions about, there's going to be no change to them. Just why do you found out that you did not need the trucks? The loading bays that you had?
I could maybe partially answer is, I was here when we did the original approval, and as Mr. Rice said, during the original approval, there was discussion that the building may at some time have been subdivided into multiple tenants. So that all the loading bays were provided so that you could have distinct tenants within the building. Now that it's basically a one-tenant building, Crestron, really does not need that many trucks. In fact, you can see, there's very few trucks there in that photograph. Also, with reducing, we are meeting the code requirement for the number of loading bays for this size building.
Okay, well, what I'm alluding to is, as one member of the board, I would not look favorably upon some future application where you claim, oh, we changed our mind, we need the loading bays done, therefore, we're going to have to do site disturbance on the easterly side. With that caveat, I certainly have no problems with what you're doing, and I'm glad your business has been successful. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dell. Mr. Bond?
Now, you're proposing land banking, some parking?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Which parking exactly is
The parking, maybe John, you can just point it out.
Land bank parking, there'll be 6 spaces land banked here, 15 spaces here, there's 22 spaces here.
Okay, so basically everything in that circled area for the most part.
Yes, yeah, all the land bank parking, we've got 1 space up here, we picked up another 1 space or 2 spaces up in the northwest corner of the site.
So, I mean, we usually have no problem with people land banking spaces, but normally, when they come back, what do we normally do when we don't just let them build them when they need them, right? They have to come back?
No, well, they go to the building department, they don't come back.
They don't come back here?
No.
Okay.
No,
All right.
you're approving it, and if they show a need.
Okay, but they have to show the need, all right, okay. All right. That's it, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Mr. Sweeney?
I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Mandel?
Just to follow up on the chairman's statements. The request a minimum of 26 feet wide in that proposed new parking area. What's your distance here? Is that 24?
Yes, sir, right now we have 24 feet for that drive aisle.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make it 26.
We can accommodate that, we can slide the sidewalk and the parking spaces that face in towards the building. We push those 2 feet towards the building, we lose a little bit of green space, but we'll pick up the 26 feet from Mr. Devon.
Change your overall impervious area?
I'm not gonna try to do the arithmetic in my head, but it does change it slightly, and it should still be de minimis. It's gonna be 2 feet by, by about 180 feet.
Have you talked to Mr. Beckman about that turning radius at the end?
Yes, sir. Yes, I did. Trying to turn around a ladder truck in that area would take away most of the parking. It would make it an unusable kind of parking area there.
Is Mr. Beckman, has he approved that?
What Mr. Bettman's comment to me was, I'll figure out how to get out of there. Get me in, I'll figure out how to get out.
All right, as long as we get something from Beckman on that, he changed his condition on that.
Well, he didn't change, we're not changing the condition because it says that he needs the 26 feet to get
Oh,
in.
yeah, 26 feet,
Yeah,
definitely,
yeah, but there's no condition that says he has to get out.
Okay. All right. As long as that condition is met, I have no further objection.
To meet that requirement.
You just have to meet Mr. Bettman's requirements, that's all. I mean, we're not gonna, right, okay, sorry, Mr. Mandel, you done?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
done.
so we're not gonna make you come back to, just make, if Mr. Bettman tells us that there's something wrong, you'll be back before us, but, I mean, I'm sorry, you have to.
Yeah, it's
they
gonna
do-
go back.
Do they have to come back after Akabor?
Was this advertised for fine?
It was advertised for final, sometimes you don't require it, it's up to you.
I mean, basically, they're going Apple just for the color of the canopies? for
No,
most
no.
of it, right? I
Okay,
mean, that's
so
really
if there's
what
any
it's announced.
major, we'll No, you don't have to come back.
You okay with that, Mrs. Slavin?
J-
Yes, my comments pertain to the building itself.
Okay,
Okay.
so do you go to Akabor?
I do not.
You don't either, right?
No, we have an attorney there.
Yeah, okay. So if there's issues, they'll come back. Okay. As long as there's no issues with Akabor, then you don't have to come back. Okay? For Akabor, they have to go to Akabor. You're sending them to Akabor. Yeah, yeah, it's up there. That's what, yeah. Okay, so Mr. Mandel just wants to make sure that this is what they're reviewing at Akabor. The new entrance canopies, the proposed material to be used in the infill, review of the new parking layout, and the proposed landscaping. Right, Gene? Okay? Okay. Okay, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to this application? I see none and I hear none. I need a motion to close the public portion. Mr. Bond makes the motion, Mr. Mandel seconds. All in favor? Aye. And I need a motion for
I would just,
to reaffirm SECR.
yes.
I'll make one to read.
Mr. Bond makes the motion to reaffirm SECR, and Mr. Mandel seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Now I need a motion for lead agency.
I'll make that motion.
No, we don't have to do that again? Okay, then forget that. And I need a motion for final
conditions.
with conditions. Okay,
Bond?
Mr. Bond. Brooker's 1. Jane Slavin's 1. Bruce Peters 5. Mr. Bettman's 4. That's all I have. Need a second?
Second.
Mr. Young seconds. All in favor? Aye. Have a nice night, gentlemen. Okay, next up is Pfizer. Village Green Fence Site Plan, Phase 2. PB number 18-02.
Anthony Bispo, B-I-S-P-O. B as in boy, I-S, P as in Paul, O.
Hi, Dave Slider, S-L-I-T-E-R.
Okay, so who's telling us what's going on?
Uh,
Okay,
good-
so hold on. Who's who? What are we doing here?
Anthony Bispo, Project Manager.
For Pfizer?
Yes.
Okay,
Dave Slider, plant and project engineer with Pfizer.
okay, so what's going on?
So we, as the board, we've been here a couple times. There was a development when we sold part of the property off to a developer. Since then, we've put certain projects in place to sort of segregate ourselves from the rest of the site. This is one of those types of projects. So we're basically improving our security measures at the site. As the developer brings in new tenants, we've made the decision to sort of, there's this area we refer to as Village Green. Can you zoom in a little? Right where you're pointing. So that area there is what we refer to as the Village Green. So we're basically putting a fence line and a pavilion with card readers and turnstiles to ensure Pfizer personnel is traveling back and forth between our buildings. To the left is Building 205. That's the developer's building. The building to the south and to the east is Pfizer's buildings, and to the north as well.
Kind of like what you had there before.
Sort
When
of.
you guys own the whole site. you
Yeah,
know, it's
right.
like-
Now it's sort of an open campus, so people can just drive in. People are parking sort of wherever. So part of it as well is we're reconfiguring the parking to the west of Building 160 slightly. And the pavilion and card readers is there on the left.
Okay, so, is that it?
Yes, sir.
PRC has no additional comments. Jane, you're saying that they need a site plan submitted.
Well, what happened is there's really no way to figure out where this was on the site when we first got the drawings.
Okay.
That's why the comment was made. That's what I meant by, like, where is this in relationship to the whole complex? It was sort of by itself,
Okay.
okay?
So, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to, I mean, it's a fence. Do we want them to have it ready for, should they have it for Akabor?
We have the project location plan up in the top.
Right.
If we could just be larger, so, and then hatched in, this is the area, because we had to try to figure out where the location was. It was very difficult from just this plan on the left.
Yes.
Where is that?
Okay. Is that something that you guys can take care of?
Sure.
And we'll have it for Akabor?
Yeah,
Does anybody, I mean, I don't want to call them back here if we don't need it. Do you need it? We don't need it, right? No. Okay. Okay, so just make sure it's ready, bless you. It'll be ready for Akabor. Okay, so,
we'll respond to the questions and provide a better drawing showing that.
okay, so there's 4 comments from Ms. Slavin, Ms. Bruce Peters has 2. Rockland County Planning has 2. I'm sorry, but why does the New York State Department of Transportation have to review a site plan from Pfizer that's in the middle of the campus? Anybody? Anybody?
500 feet.
What's that? Oh, that's, okay. That's from Rockland County Planning, but I'm assuming that we sent it to Department of Transportation? And I know we sent it to Department of Highways, because Health says no, Sewer says no, Mr. Bettman has 6. Okay?
Cool. We came to the pre-planning board meeting last week, and Mr. Bettman actually drove to the site after the meeting a week ago today. So we've had some conversations with him.
Okay, well, right
No-
now, I'm
nothing
putting the 6
finalized.
comments into the
Yeah.
record. If Mr. Bettman has issues, then he can work it out,
Sure,
and
right.
then with Cheryl at the end and say, okay.
Agreed.
And then ZBA correspondent is not objecting to us serving as lead agency. That's all I have, Cheryl. Mr. Young?
This is something similar we did at Cromalloy a couple of years ago, right?
Yes,
And it's-
and I also believe that we did something similar like this on the Pfizer project too, or at least the whole thing,
Number of times.
the new fence.
That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Mr. Dell?
Okay, first of all, for the record, this is obviously, as the chairman alluded to, a campus-type situation, so the main people being affected by anything are basically yourselves and your tenants. That being said, what physically is going to be constructed? You're constructing a fence of about how high is it going to be?
The fence about 5 foot high. Yeah, and it circles that village green basically on the west and on the north. It's the developer's tenants, by the way. Pfizer doesn't have the tenants.
Okay, so that'll be the only exterior manifestation will be a 5-foot-high fence around this perimeter.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because the definition of a fence could be anything from something nice like you're proposing to something quite high with multiple levels of razor wire. I don't think that's where you are going with this, but since we're keeping a public record, I think it's fair that that distinction be drawn. All right, so other than that, there's nothing else on the outside
Some
that would
card
be visible?
readers.
There's a pavilion, an open-air pavilion, if you will, and
Right.
then the card readers and the
All right.
turnstiles underneath that.
That's okay, it's as shown. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Dell. Mr. Bond?
I mean, the fence is similar to other fencing that you have there now that you
Correct.
did for other projects that you've been here in the past.
Not as high as the other.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, but similar type quality, similar.
It's an estate fence, it's called, yeah.
Yeah. We have to make you go to Akabor for this? Just kidding, just,
Well, my third comment, I think we might have to go to zoning.
excuse me,
We might have to go to zoning.
zoning?
Oh.
Well, because it was subdivided. So their property line, look at the plan, they're close to their property line. That's why comment number 3 is there.
I'm sorry, Jane, I didn't see that. I missed that, but yeah, okay, so we can send them to zoning. Rob?
Again, I don't know if they necessarily have to.
Well, that's
There's
what she hasn't made a determination yet.
So there's no setback, so you can tell from the GIS map, that orange line, that's the imposition of the property line after the subdivision. So this area is very close to the proposed pavilion is going. We're very close to that property line. It's hard to tell from the map, the drawing that they submitted, how far they are off that property line. Property line-
And they have to go to zoning before they go to Akabor, so they have to make the determination before that.
And it may be fine, but we can't.
Okay, so, I mean, I think
I
that
have
we
a
can-
quarter.
I think what we can do is we can say that, we can make it a condition that they have to go to zoning subject to determination from the building department. If the building department decides that they do have the setbacks that are not needed, or they meet the setback requirements, then they do not have to go to zoning board, but you'll have to work that out with the buildings department. Okay?
They have to give us the calculations and
Yes, and you'll have to provide the calculations to the buildings department before that determination can be made. And then we'll say after that, we'll table that for now. Go ahead, Mr. Sweeney, I interrupted, go
No,
ahead.
besides that comment with the property line, no further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Mandel?
No questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mandel. Okay, so then finalizing, then you'll have to go to Akabor, but the determination will be made first whether or not you have to go to zoning, and you will provide the calculations to the building department to make that determination, okay?
We going prelim on this or final?
We're going final, based on those conditions,
Great.
okay? Right? So, I need a motion to, I'm gonna say
It's final, except, okay, all right.
reaffirm.
I mean, there's no bulk table, there's no.
I'm sorry, I'll have to see if there's anybody in the audience. What's that?
You can, but I mean, this is a little bit, not, I know it's a smaller project, but unlike the last one, there's a few things missing in terms of bulk table and things like that.
Okay, again, once again, we'll have, we'll make, the buildings department and Jane's office will make the determination. And if she feels that there's just too much on her plate for her to make the determination, then they can come back. Okay? That'll be one of the conditions.
Can we do that?
Well, together,
Yeah. Okay?
Wow.
How do you,
what's that?
so how do you give them final, if that's the case?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So you don't want to give them final, you want to give them preliminary and make them come back?
In a situation where you might go to zoning board, I would not.
Okay.
I know the board has in the past.
No, that's fine.
And I know it's only your fence.
Okay, so let's back up. Okay. And you'll correct me, I'm sure. If they don't, if the Office of the Building, Zoning, Planning makes the determination that they do not have to go to zoning, they do not have to come back here. If they have to go to zoning, then they have to come back. So we will make it a.
You make 2 votes then?
So what do you want to do? Make 2 votes?
I just want to give them preliminary.
Then let's give them, so then that means they have to come back.
It's the prudent thing.
Okay, so Mr. Magrino said what he wanted to say, but it took him 10 minutes.
3.
Sorry, 3. Okay, you're getting preliminary, you're gonna have to come back. Okay? Sorry. I know, thank you though, Mr. Sweeney. I was gonna forget, but I didn't remind myself. So, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to this project? I see none and I hear none. I need a motion to close.
Motion.
Mr. Mandel makes the motion. Mr. Bond seconds. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm sorry, all in favor? Aye. I'm going to do the same thing for Pfizer that we've done before. I'm going to reaffirm secret.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Mandel makes the motion. Mr. Bond seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm not going to do lead agency. No.
I'll make a motion for preliminary.
Mr. Bond makes a motion for preliminary, subject to Jane Slavens, 4. Mr. Peters, 2. Mr. Bettman's, 6. That's all I have. So I need a second for preliminary. Mr.
And they also need to supply the building department with the.
Yeah,
dimensions,
but that's,
the footage, you know.
right,
so
but
they
that's
can make a
part of,
determination
that's
on
part of
zoning.
the conditions
That's
from
what-
Jane's office, but now that
Yeah,
they're,
That's in there already?
now that they're coming back, right, now that they're coming back, you just have to make sure it's here when you come back. so we can look at it one more time. Okay, so second for final, for preliminary? Mr. Mandel, seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
There we go. Next up is, and I should have made this announcement earlier, but if you're here for C&E Island Flavor Site Parking Plan, they are not being heard tonight. It's been postponed. So next up is RRIS Core Final Site Plan, PB number 18-03. Mr. Brenner, can you gentlemen sign in and state your name and affiliation for the project, with the project, for the record?
Okay, name is Donald Brenner, attorney in Tapan, New York. I represent the client. Next to me is,
Jesse Coakley with Mazer Consulting.
we have appeared before the zoning board, we have appeared before the architecture review board. We've gotten approvals from both agencies. We're now here for final.
Okay, PRC has no additional comments. Jane Slavin, Office of Building, Zoning, Plan Administration Enforcement, has 2. Bruce Peters has 8. Are you familiar with Mr. Peters' number 2?
Yes.
Are you, let me just interrupt you. Are you working it out with Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Thank you. Brooker Engineering. We therefore recommend that RRIS site plan be approved for drainage, subject to the above project comments, and there are 7. Rockland County Planning has 17.
18.
Sorry?
Any
18.
more than that? Yeah, 18.
We do have problems with those.
Which ones?
We have problems with 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. This board has overridden most of them the last time we were here for preliminary.
What were those numbers again, Mr. Brenner?
Pardon me?
7 through 13.
Mr. Brenner, Mr. Magrino, what are we doing here? All right, I'll get back to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're talking about on the first.
Pardon me?
No,
Our numbers
parallel spaces are located on the left side of the driveway.
So what they're saying is
Hold
if
on,
you...
wait, just let me do this and then we can get to that.
We'll accept the last sentence, we just don't want the front part of it.
Rockland County Health says that all applications for approval, but it's not really a condition. Drainage.
We will work it out with them.
But what is it, what are their comments?
It's on the second page, they have 6 comments.
Oh, see, okay. Okay, Rockland Drainage has 6. Rockland County Sewer has 3. Pretty simple. Mr. Bettman has 6. Okay, again, what are we doing here with Office of Fire and Emergency Services? They have 4. They're requiring fire radios. Oh, they're actually requiring the infrastructure so the radios work.
Commonplace.
Say that again?
It's commonplace now.
Yep.
Yes, and that's a new, well, we've seen it before, yeah.
Yes.
Gotta do it.
We don't have a problem with that. We don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so I'll put them in there.
Yes.
Rockland County Fire, Mr. Gordon Wren. This is from somebody, Peter something, whose name I can't read. Berg, B something. And it's not from Gordon Wren, so maybe they should say, maybe they should put a name down underneath the signature.
I believe that's Pete Burns.
Burns?
Yes.
Oh, from right down the street here? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Mr. Burns, I couldn't read your name.
Pretty sure that's his.
No harm, no foul.
We have, let me know.
Army Corps of Engineer. Doesn't seem to have any problems. Excuse me. That's all I have, Cheryl. Okay, so, all right. So let's get back to the planning.
Number 7 is, we accept the last sentence, or we would like just the last sentence of number 7 put in. We don't have a problem with that. We will put up the signage that they want.
Okay, so I'm leaving 7 in.
Provided the first part is taken out. I don't want a conflict
Maybe the
here.
last sentence too.
Why, what's the proper, what's the parallel spaces are located on the left side, encouraging drivers to cut across the way? I don't know what are they referring to? What did Jesse, you mentioned?
So, yeah, I think what they're saying is if you drive into the lot here, and these spaces are open, your inclination is gonna be to pull right in. And technically, it's crossing this driveway, right? The last part of that says, to prevent that, put up a sign saying you can't park facing the opposite way, so we can put that
Oh,
sign.
I see.
So then why shouldn't I leave it in? If you're gonna do it, that's fine. The
Okay,
last-
as long as we don't have conflict when we go to, we will put up the
It's not
signs.
only illegal,
Yeah, I mean, you know,
but
it's
with
like,
impede circulation, it must be redesigned.
That's number 8.
No, 7.
7.
Says to avoid this from occurring, signage must be installed that safety vehicles cannot park facing oncoming traffic.
it's nothing illegal.
How can it be illegal?
Yeah.
It's a parking lot. You know?
I think they mean it's illegal having,
I mean,
the design is illegal, I think they mean the parking
Parking.
facing the wrong way is illegal.
I think basically, well, I think what it comes down to, if we're okay with the site plan, the way the parking is, you can override all these. And the reason is, that's the
Well-
reason. We're okay with the
Well, you
layout,
gotta-
you know?
You gotta give a reason or you're not gonna get permits, but with respect to that, yeah, I'd leave it in and, but put it in sign.
All cars, I read it as all cars need to be parked facing southbound.
Correct.
So your headlights have to face southbound. If you're parked the other direction, it's like parking on the wrong side of the road in the wrong direction. That's what we're saying. So that'll keep people from coming over and parking
Right.
where the sign's made.
Okay,
But what about, and then, but that goes into 8 also though.
Right.
That if you pull in, there's no way to turn around, to be able to park in those things, correct?
Well, where are they gonna turn around?
What's that?
Where would they turn around?
Well, that's what they're saying, there's no place to turn around.
So you'd have to, every car that comes in would have to come in, do a full loop in the back, manage to turn around, and come in and face directly. Either that, or they have to do a K-turn in the middle of this. Those are the only 2 options.
Right, the intent would be, the majority of the people that come to this site are gonna be the employees that work here. It's a carpet cleaning service, like plumbers, like, they're gonna be the ones using this site. So the idea would be that they mostly are confined to parking in the rear, and then if someone comes in to, you know, use one of the services, they would come into the rear, see that spots are full, do, you know, a back out maneuver right in the rear parking lot, and then come around and park in the front.
So where you have that strip on the left,
Yeah,
that's parking?
yes.
Okay.
You're better off having employees park there.
We could do that too. We can add
We
employee
can sign
parking.
employee parking.
Yeah.
But the front, but the entrance is in the front.
Oh.
If somebody wanted to come in and utilize, you know, patronize one of those places,
Mhm.
they'd have to park in the back and all.
Right, and we have, so one of the things with, that Akabor had done was, if you notice the 2 property lines at the elbow, we'll call it, they're not 90 degrees. So the building is not, it's parallel to the line this way, up and down, but it's not exactly perpendicular to the one running horizontal. So what we did was we kicked the driveway so that it's actually parallel to the horizontal line, and it gives us a little area to stripe a sidewalk to get you from the back to the front. And then it also created, it also got the parking lot away from the elbow property line, and we're able to put some plantings in there. That was a good recommendation from Akabor, so.
Want to explain it again?
So 7 we're leaving in, 8 we're overriding, because anybody, my point is to say what Bruce said, is that the planning board has approved the park, has reviewed the parking and is okay as designed. Rob?
What, I'm sorry, I have one last question. Those 2 employee parking, you're short on parking, I think, right?
No, I believe we meet the requirement, the table, the calculations down there at the bottom.
We didn't get a variance for parking.
Yeah. We're meeting the minimum
So
requirement.
how many spaces are you providing?
19.
So you can't get rid of those 2 in front of the,
We could look, yeah, we could look at, potentially adding one over to the parallel strip, and then, making that area in front of the dumpsters just a turnaround area.
that might be helpful, to make that a turnaround area, that would solve a lot.
If we were able to add another spot, in the back there, or here, and then just make that a turnaround, we could do that. We could just stripe in front of the dumpsters and make that a turnaround area.
Well, that's what's cool.
Okay,
To me, it makes sense to have a turnaround area.
fine. So then,
I think that's the bulk of the county's problem.
okay, so then 7 and 8 are staying in. 9. The overhead doors must be relocated. We're overriding number 9. I need a motion to override number 9.
Motion.
Mr. Min-
We're not there yet. You go to the public and all that stuff.
I thought we override these,
No, when you go to give the
oh.
approval.
Is there anybody in the public who wishes to speak to this? I see none, I hear none. I need a motion to
I'll
override.
make a motion to close the public portion.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Second?
Second.
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman, can we
Dels.
just make a few quick comments on general?
Yeah,
We
go
want to do that at the end.
Which I'm
No,
not.
we're closing the public comments, that's what we're
done.
doing, right? And we
We
just
went
said
back
that.
and addressing these with him, so it's not time for, why don't we still, if I may? Why don't we
Sure
still
can.
address them,
I can get a turnaround.
continue to address
So we
them,
want
and
this
then
to
at the end, we'll do it. So I think, you said,
Number 9 is, they want them to move the overhead doors. We're
now
not,
you're okay with overriding?
Yes.
And then at the appropriate
yes,
time.
okay, gotcha. Number 10, I don't even know,
We don't have big vehicles, these are little.
we've already reviewed this, right?
And it was a-
Everybody?
I think one difference from the original plan to this plan is we did put a stop bar at that turn, so the car is forced to stop there instead of whipping around the corner.
Okay,
So,
so,
you can override that based on that, and it was overridden in preliminary.
okay, 11. We overrode 11.
Yeah, and by shifting the driveway more parallel to the property line, we're able to provide a striped sidewalk to the
Okay,
front.
so then 11 I'm leaving in.
Or you want to override it as satisfied, yeah, well, you can leave it.
No, we don't
as
leave it,
satisfied.
right, satisfied. So 12, we're removing the employee parking, and then we're going to
Turn
have
around
that
there.
use that as a turnaround. Okay, so we'll override number 12.
We're gonna relocate it, right?
Because we'll tell,
You're gonna
Mr. Negrino
relocate
told me to talk about it after we do that.
Yeah, but the reason we're removing the dredge is they're gonna relocate that parking, right?
Yes.
Right, so we can put that as part of the.
Now, what about 13? Is the handicap space now relocated as close to the front of the building as possible? Because I can't tell where the, yeah, I see the handicap space.
I can flip it to the end by where the sidewalk's gonna be.
Okay, so then, there you go. Now we're not overriding 13 anymore either. Okay, so, so I've read all the comments, and that means that now is the time to ask if there's public portion, if there's anybody in the public. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Dell had something to say, but he could say it after I close it, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I have no comments, no.
Mr. Dell? Did I not ask this?
My comment's just a generic comment. This is a grandfathered site that's been extremely difficult to design, and I think given the severe site limitations on this and other issues that the applicant had to overcome, I think it's a good solution to the problems, particularly due to the nature of the proposed businesses, which further mitigate any problems. That's it, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dell. We should just put that down as the reason why we're overriding everything.
Fine with me.
No, I definitely think it's an improvement to what's on the site now, so,
I think that covers it. Mr. Bond?
that's all. I just think it's an improvement from
Yes.
what's on the site now. So.
Thank you. Mr. Sweeney?
It sounds like you're willing to meet all the comments, so I just, appreciate you going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mendel.
Yeah, so just regarding Bruce Peters' comments on the number 2, so you're talking to him about whether you're going to have a water oil separator or not. What's the status of that discussion?
The problem here is that we don't see any reason why we even need one. So we want to sit down with Mr. Peters and say, what are you talking about? We're not putting people that are going to service cars or something like that. So he's presuming a lot of things there, which I think we have to straighten out. The DEC has not adopted anything on the Sparkle Creek north of the town line. That's another thing he's presuming. In fact, he even says, we think they're going to do it. So, we'll
Okay,
just
well,
have to work it out.
it doesn't matter, Mr. Mandel, and I don't mean to speak, but it's a condition that we're leaving in there. We're not overriding it, so he's gonna have to work it out. Yeah.
I just want, I want the board to know, we are talking to him, we'll just have to work it out with him.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, he makes assumptions in his statements that haven't been, in fact, further from reality.
Anything else, Mr. Mandel?
Oh, the landscaping on 340. I think it's on the east side, am I right? Yeah, if you're, okay, it's right at the end of the parallel parking, right on 340?
Yep.
How does that affect the site distance?
So, we do have the one tree there, but I believe the other ones are all,
Low shrub,
yeah, 24 inches or under.
okay.
And then one of the other things we did from the preliminary approval was the driveway, we turned it so it's more 90 degrees with 340 so that you can have good vision both directions.
Okay, thank you, that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mandel. Once again, is there anybody in the audience wishes to speak to this? No? Mr. Bond makes the motion. Mr. Mandel seconds. All in favor? Aye. And I need a motion for final. Mr. Bond. Jane Slavens, 2. Bruce Peters, 8. Brookers, 7. Rockland County Planning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Gonna have fun with that.
11. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I need a motion to override number 9. Mr. Sweeney makes the motion. I need a second.
I'll second, because they're stating they're gonna pull the trucks into the bays, and they won't be staying out there.
There is the reason. Thank you, Mr. Mandel.
According to their statements, the The trucks will not be standing outside to deliver. The trucks will be pulled in through the overhead doors into the establishment and unloaded there, so there's no need for the
You said that?
relocation of the overhead doors.
Go along with that?
Okay.
Okay.
Also, before you move on, I'd suggest doing 7 and 8 also, just
Over-
because.
Overriding them?
Yes, just
Okay.
because he's making changes that are not coming back, so we have a clean record. And basically, number 7 would be,
Okay, so I need a motion to override number 7.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Bond? Mr. Sweeney, all in favor? Aye, and go
and the
ahead.
basis is the applicant has agreed to redesign the parking to provide for a turnaround in the vicinity of the trash enclosure. So that'll be the same if you override number 8.
Okay, so I need a motion to override number 8.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Bond, Mr. Sweeney, seconds, all in favor? Aye, and the same reason goes.
Right.
Okay?
9 you did. 10, I would also override with the, that you added the stop line and
Okay, so number,
stop sign.
okay, Mr. Sweeney makes the motion to override 10. Mr. Bond
Exactly what
makes
I
the
wanted.
seconds, all in favor? Aye.
Mr. Chairman?
What else we got? We got to write anything else?
Well, I would say 11, because he's, again, redesigning it to put the handicap space in the, I guess, north, the east. you know.
But number 11, we're leaving in there because he already put the sidewalk in. It's already been satisfied.
He's also gonna put the, we could leave it in and maybe put that, but he's agreed to put the space next to the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's
as
number-
opposed to at
That's number 12, right? Oh, yeah.
Okay, so where am I?
Oh,
Am
the
I
sidewalk is provided, correct.
Okay, so I'm leaving 11 in. Number
13
12,
that had that issue.
okay, so number 12,
That's the same reason as the one for 7 and 8.
so I need a motion to override number 12.
Make a motion to override
Mr.
12.
Bond, Mr. Sweeney, all in favor? Rob said same thing as numbers 7 and 8.
Right, because they're redesigning the parking lot.
And,
13 was the one about the.
so do we
handicap
override number
spot.
13?
Right. and
Okay.
Saying that.
Mr. Sweeney made a motion to override number 13, Mr.
No, it's being overridden.
Yeah.
But they
Well,
already
we're just
provided,
gonna say the applicant has agreed to move the handicap space, you know.
closer to the building.
Right.
But doesn't that mean it's already satisfied?
To about the
The
sidewalk.
problem is he hasn't done it, and we haven't seen it.
Okay, so then we made a motion, we have a second to override 13 with the condition that, for the reason that the applicant has agreed to move the handicap
Or
space.
shall be required.
Okay?
To about the sidewalk.
That's all I have for that, right, Cheryl?
I'll make the motion. over.
Bond and Sweeney, first and second,
And everybody voted for it.
and everybody voted for it. Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Rockland County drain,
14, 15, 16, 17.
everything else stays in, yes, yep. Rockland County drainage, 6. Rockland County sewer, 3. Michael Bettman, Chief Orangeburg Fire Chief. Oh, Chief Fire Inspector, sorry, 6. And then the 4 from Gordon Wren. Office of Fire and Emergency Services. And that's it. That's all I have, Cheryl. Okay, so now I need a second.
Mr. Delzo.
Just a quick question. It hopefully will not be an issue. I was just looking at this, and I know the stacking that usually happens at the light. I wonder if it might not be prudent to have a no left turn coming out of this property. Maybe the other board members don't feel so.
No.
But I feel just as a safety issue.
I don't think it's an issue, because Napa was in there, and I drive by this space all the time, and
Okay.
there's, when you come out onto 340, there's enough sight lines that you can see.
And New York State did not request it.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dill. Okay, so I need a second. I don't know if I got it. Second. Mr. Sweeney, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was fine, right?
Yep.
Next one is Project Sycamore. Mr. Quinn, you're making me wait. You know how much I love that. You guys can occupy the space. You can, it's kind of like parking. You can wait and come in.
Was that a continuance he wanted?
Just when we thought we were done, pulling us back in.
Good evening, Mr. Garvey, members of the board. My name is Brian Quinn. I'm the attorney for the applicant. This is the Chase Data Center. To my right, your left, is Jake Rakitich and Rob Foley. You've seen them here before. We also have Dave Winslow, who's an environmental.
Okay, so Mr. Sorry.
R-A-K-E-T-I-C-H. Got everybody else? Okay, fine. You may recall, we previously received final site plan approval for the data center. I will be, yes. For the data center at the old RPC site. We closed on that. They have been, the first part of the job is to remediate environmental conditions over there. There was some lead paint, some asbestos that needs to be removed from the buildings. We will then be demolishing the buildings to clear the site. This is an amendment to that site plan to provide for a different entrance and also a security facility at the entrance that's being constructed. You may recall this is a highly secure facility, so every truck and car, everything that comes through there needs to pass through this reception center, security building, whatever you want to call it. There'll be cameras examining the bottom of vehicles and everything like that. So basically what we've got is a new approximately 8,000 square foot building to be constructed, different entranceway. In the course of commencing the environmental remediation, it was determined that there is some soil contamination that necessitated some changes. Lead paint was found in the soil as well as pesticides at a level that were a little unexpected. So that's why we have Mr. Winslow here this evening who will testify as to that, because this necessitated also a change to the tree plan, what's going to be removed and what's going to be planted. So other than that, that's my brief presentation.
Okay, so let's hear about the soil contamination then, before we go.
Okay.
Okay, well, what we have found is the site's impacted the shallow soils with lead-based paint, pesticides, and SVOCs related to use of fill material. So across widespread areas, you'll have contaminant levels above the unrestricted levels and above commercial reuse standards too. So we've proposed with the DEC, working with them on an interim remedial measures plan and a remedial action work plan to remove the top foot of soils. And some of that is going to be removed for off-site. Some of it will be tested for reuse beneath a final cap, where we'll have 1 foot of soil that meets the standards, as well as the impervious material, the building, the pavement. And that'll all act to cap the site and to be protective of human health and the environment. So when taking off that 1 foot of soil, you have to do it around trees, and we can't cap the site around the tree root systems, or they will begin to die. So that's what's happening with the environmental on the upper soils.
Do you know approximately how many trees you're gonna have to be taking out to accomplish this?
I could pull up that number. One thing that I think I can offer to add Mr. Winslow's testimony, when we were here at the very, both this board and Akbar in May, we had originally proposed clearing a substantial number of trees on the north side of the property, along the Comet Road frontage, and immediately south of that to a regulated ditch stream that's there. One thing that will be done as part of this, what's been evaluated in this testing evaluation program that's going underway at the site, is that area will likely remain, and that we can maintain the trees in that area, which I think was what what the primary concern we heard at that time. Unfortunately, we're having to remove some additional trees on the southern portion of the development area, as well as the future development area to the south, as Mr. Winslow explained.
Because of the environmental
Because of
conditions that you,
the
but you're-
environmental testing
right.
that's been going on
okay.
over the past, basically, trying to 6 months or so since we were last year.
Right, okay. All right. So then, I guess the best thing to do is make sure that when you go to Akabor, you explain that what you're saving, what you,
Yeah.
and I don't want to put words into your mouth, but what you're saying is initially you came to us and you said, we're cutting these trees down. Now you're saying, we're not cutting these trees down, but we have to cut these trees down over here to meet the environmental standards for the
In
DEC.
fact, even Ms. Slavin is aware of this. We've been having, considerable dialogue with her, and actually even provided an updated set of plans to the town in advance of next week's Akavar meeting, because there are still even findings that have been established even since we made submission back in early December, both for this board and Akavar.
Well, I don't think that anybody here is gonna say that this is not unexpected, so, I mean, as far as the environment of the area, I mean, anybody that knows anything about these whole state sites will tell you stuff is
Lots
still.
of buried treasure.
Yes, lots of buried treasure, is a good way to put it. Okay, so, that's it, now I start reading the comments, right? Sorry, it's been a long day. The PRC has no additional comments. Jane Slavin has 6. Bruce Peters has 3. Brooker says okay to drainage, subject to the 15 that he has.
Yes.
Rockland County Planning has 11.
We don't believe we need any overrides.
Great, thank you. These are pretty much, just so for the record, pretty much reaffirming their last comments from the last stuff, so I don't think there's anything new that's in there.
Some new correspondence from other agencies, but no issues with any of them.
Okay. The other thing that's new that you didn't have before, but I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have to work it out, and if you can't work it out, you're gonna have to come back, is the stuff with Gordon Wren. It seems like, he's there, like what, Jane said the last time, when you were here, the County Office of Fire and Emergency Services was not weighing in. They are now weighing in on all of these projects, so it doesn't seem.
No, we could actually answer
Sorry,
all of these.
You can meet with them again, and if they have stuff that's egregious that you can't meet, then you'll come back.
No, we don't have any issues with
I didn't think
them.
that you would, but if you do, you come back.
Right.
Okay, Highway Department, 2. Okay?
Yes.
Health, 2. Sewer, none. And then correspondence from ZBA not objecting to us serving as lead agency. Anything else, Cheryl? That's it. So, okay, Mr. Young.
The only question I have is, Ms. Slavin, where is this on the GIS? Is it just above North Street there?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's Conda?
yes.
Yep.
That's Conda.
Thank you. No other comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Just for the record, it's, but to the left of where it says North Street on that thing, okay, up in that corner. Yes, right around that area. Okay. Mr. Dell?
Yes, just to reiterate for the record, there'll be no changes in the vicinity of Convent Road where the residential properties are, is that true?
That's correct, and that's what's reflected in the most recent sets of plans for Akabar that were delivered to Ms. Slavin on Monday of this week.
Okay, and depending upon the amount of trees that you're removing, I would hope some consideration will be given to some sort of remediation plan to plant additional trees in the general area? Or would that be problematic?
The area that these trees are coming out is area slated for potential future development. So at some point, if we did any type of tree mitigation, that is the area that JP&C does own, and it has some consideration to doing some type of field building at a future date, undetermined on it, to be honest. But in any case, planting trees in that area would require them to then be removed at that future point in time.
Which we talked about the last time.
Okay. Now, that answers my main question. My main concern, obviously, was the residents to the north. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dell. Mr. Bond?
As long as we're preserving the best we can.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Mr. Sweeney?
Just real quick, Ms. Slavin's comments, 3, 4, and 5 talk about how things have moved. What's moving and why?
Well, the plan up on the screen looks essentially identical. The main data center building has shifted, as per her noted in her memo, I think I wanted to say 30 feet.
30 feet
30
west.
feet to the west. That there was some security evaluations that were done on the property, and there was a desire to have the building more centrally located. Also, the pump station, to accommodate the new entrance building, that's really the primary reason we're here, and the driveway layout was that forced to move a bit to the north. And we have more further detail from Margin Rockland on the substation, and that is now the 132 feet, I believe she had noted in her memo.
To the east.
That shift as well.
That's the biggest shift, so it moved way off to the
Yeah,
east side.
it's now further towards the center of the site. Also, this is the layout plan. I can offer the grading plan. Creates some berming between the substation and the proposed cul-de-sac, basically at the boundary of this parcel and OMH, Office of Mental Health property near their mid-rise tower complex.
So it's in reaction to security concerns, the new entryway, and the Orange and Rockland conversation? Okay, thank you.
Given the size of the site, it's a 60-acre site, though, we don't need any variances for setback or anything, so we're still within all the setbacks.
Got it, thank you.
Mr. Mandel?
No, all the questions by the previous members of the board have answered all my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mandel. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this? You can come up to the podium. Typically, I give people 3 minutes.
Could I have your name, please?
Sure, my name is Gwyn Murray,
I'm sorry, Wayne?
Gwyn. Murray, Murray.
And your address?
376 Convent Road. Up in that corner, that blank corner in the upper left. Just concerned, I guess, about the trees and where the trees are that you're going to be removing. That's really all I'm kind of worried about.
You can show her.
It's all to the south. I do have a hard copy plan that I could pull out of my bag, if that would be of assistance.
You don't have to
I know
act
we're
like it's,
avoiding
it's like, holy
I'll
cow,
use it.
is it okay if I pull this out?
What I'll refer to is on the GIS plan. Our property is essentially from Convent Road, 3rd Avenue,
Yep.
1st Avenue, down to Oak Street. And the area of the trees that we're talking about removing due to environmental issues and
Yeah.
having to deal with all the soil contamination is primarily in the undeveloped, or what will be undeveloped. These buildings will be demolished. The original application back in May, we were looking to save as many trees in this area as possible
I see.
that weren't impacted by building demo. As it turns out, there needs to be a good bit of remediation done here, so those trees will have to be removed. But we do have the regulated area up top.
Yeah.
And all of that,
Yeah.
that existing, heavily wooded area adjacent to Convent Road would remain.
Okay, that was basically it, that and the traffic light to be corrected, that was all.
Yes, we did speak with
Yes, I know,
Ms.
we
Murray
spoke
before.
already.
She
Well,
was
I'm
happy-
I'm not following, so what's the problem with the traffic light?
No, we did speak with Ms. Murray before, and she was happy to hear that the traffic light is being fixed.
What's the problem with the light? Because it takes too long to get out of the,
Since 2012,
Well,
yeah, it takes too long on Convent Road,
It's the
right.
slowest
Yeah,
light in
It's
the world.
ridiculous.
No,
when the electricity went out for Superstorm Sandy, they switched it the other way. So the convent.
So is that a county issue?
Yeah.
And
I
they're
think-
fixing it?
As part of our original site plan approval, we contributed, I think it was $100,000 for the town to replace that light because I was told it can't be repaired, so.
Okay.
That's being taken care of.
All right, thanks.
The town has the money
Okay.
to do that.
Thank
Okay.
you. That was it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so then now is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to speak to this? I see none and I hear none, so I need a motion to to close.
Motion.
Mr. Mandel makes the motion, Mr. Sweeney seconds, all in favor? And I need a motion for, do we need to reaffirm? Did I need a motion to reaffirm neg
Motion
deck?
to
Mr.
reaffirm.
Mandel makes the motion. Mr. Bond seconds, all in favor? And I need a motion for final with conditions.
Motion for final review.
Okay, so as we said, Ms. Slavin, 6, Mr. Peters, 3, Brooker Engineering's 15, Planning's 11, Emergency Services, 6, Highway Department, 2, Health, 2. And that's it. So, second?
Second.
Mr. Sweeney, seconds, all in favor? Aye.
Is that final? We don't
Yes.
need to come back then. Thank you. We need to go to Akab. We need
It has
to
to
go
go
to.
to Akabor, yeah.
Right.
But as far
We
as we're
understand.
concerned, you don't have to
We're
come
on-
back to us.
You can come back if you
You
want.
want to come back?
I love coming back here, you know?
We're on a roll tonight. We're on a roll tonight with finals without.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
Jane, that's fantastic. That's
Yeah, that's
very,
yeah.
sharp.
And they all have to come with the drive, right? Do they have to submit plans on the flash drive?
Everybody good at your house? Congratulations.
Do you have AutoCAD in your, are you able to get? Yeah, but does,
You too. Thanks, Cheryl. Good night.
yeah. Yep,
Yeah, I took that.
Yep,
I took
that's
that
great.
3 years ago. That was.
yeah, it's a good class. GIFs, right. Right. Okay, so the other business I have is to agree that we're going to maintain Brooker Engineering as our engineer of record. But I know, but Mr. Mandel wants them to be on notice that they need to be more timely with their application, with their, getting their comments to us on Monday,
Day of.
not the day of.
Some of that is not, it's the applicant. It's not
Yes.
necessarily that.
Okay, so we're gonna ask that Brooker Engineering do their very best to get us the correspondence in a little bit more of a timely manner. Is that okay? So I need a motion to adopt, to say okay for Brooker Engineering being here. Mr. Bond says yay.
Second.
Mr. Young seconds. All in favor? Aye. Yep, sign. Yep.
We have minutes, Cheryl? I'll make a motion.
Mr. Bond makes the motion. Mr. Mandel seconds. I was not here, but I read them and I said, okay.
Did you see the change they made, is that with respect to, did you see the change they made on,
Yes.
I spoke to, Parks, and they prefer that it go to the state.
It was in bold print rather than the last time, this time it was in bold.
Yeah, well, I put it in bold so that
Yeah.
it's your eye, it's red, right?
Second. Anybody? Mr. Dell seconds. All in favor? Okay. Anything else, Cheryl? Mr. Bond makes the motion to adjourn. Mr. Mandel seconds. All in favor?